God saved you, not for you. He saved you so you can go back in them holes and get his kids.
But sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order to recognize that God is the rock at the bottom.
If you are falling into some of these situations that you are no longer useful, they say you're not a good role model. That's the world speaking.
No matter what mistake you've made, no matter what past you've come through, it does not disqualify you from leadership.
I go in that huddle, I said, this right here, right now, determines how you live the rest of your life.
Shame is no longer your name. God can use you. He can use your story because he is not done with you yet.
If you don't bring it up, they gonna always bring it up. They gonna bring it up all the time to shoot you down.
Our goal is not to be famous. Our goal is not to build a fortune. It's just simply to be found faithful.
I don't ever want my profession to be bigger than my person, and I am God's child.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back in for another episode of the Built Different podcast. As always, I'll be your host today, Dr. Zach Clinton, and this is an interview I've been looking forward to for a while because even though I'm a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan, today I get to sit down with the enemy, right? In a sense, the Dallas Cowboys legend, the playmaker, Michael Irvin. He's a Hall of Fame wide receiver, a three-time Super Bowl champion, one of the fiercest competitors the game has ever seen. But behind the fame, behind the lights, behind the legacy, was a man fighting battles far bigger than football. Things that he's been very open about: addiction, brokenness, suffering. But then, just like all of our lives, there was grace. In 2001, everything changed when Michael Irvin surrendered his life to Jesus Christ. And what followed wasn't perfection, it was transformation. And today, we're not just talking about football. We're talking about faith, overcoming adversity, redemption, and what it really means to be faithful over famous. Michael, my friend, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Welcome to the Built Different podcast.
I love the name Built Different because all of us, I mean, it's a double entendre, really. We're all built different, all uniquely, divinely made. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But the Built Different also says that, you know, I'm committed to, like what I like to say, Doc, is when we go through the prayers and you hear God say, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven, you know, what can be done on earth as it is in heaven? And I think through even that prayer, and I said, well, in heaven, God he's a king over his domain, over that domain. So he's a king over his kingdom. And he asks us as men to be kings over our domain. That I have given you to shepherd, you shepherd. You see what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I mean, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. He's a great father, so he's telling us to be great fathers. I love that piece of it.
Michael, I can't wait for this conversation. Like I said, I've been looking forward to it for a while because, man, you are everywhere. The question isn't where is Michael Irvin, it's where is he not? You're all over television. You're on the sidelines all over the place. You're hosting shows. God's doing something special in and through your life. I think just to begin, I just want to know, what are you most excited about in this season of your life?
You know what? Seeing my mom's words come to fruition. You know, that's my mom. My mom and my dad is no longer in time. They are in eternity. But what my mom would always say, Doc, when I was a kid was, you know, I was 15 to 17 kids, right? 15 to 17. And she would tell me, so, baby, when I got pregnant, I with you, I was just crying in church. I was like, you were that happy? You were that happy? She said, you my 15th baby. She said, I was praying to God saying, I can't do it again. I can't. And she said, God put his arms around her womb and said, fret not, fret not. This child shall make your latter days greater than your former days.
Wow.
Doc, I promise you, I heard that every day of my life. And I remember it. Like I was 3 years old, I don't know how I was old enough, my mom was carrying me. And she would be opening the refrigerator and saying this. That's okay. It's nothing here now. But she'd look at me and say, God already promised me, baby, you're going to make my latter days greater than my former days. Every day, you know. So that's where it all started. My mom used to tell me that God told me you're going to be a preacher. I said, oh, God, Mom. No, 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 no. I used to tell her, hey, listen, hey, talking the talk is one thing. Walking the walk is another.
Come on.
Because I thought you had to be perfect to be that. And certainly now that I matured a little in the Lord, I know I got nothing but respect for people of the cloth and people that hold that position. Because listen, when you hold such a position, you're too high, you're too low to be God, even though
Yep.
people try to put you up there, and they put you above. They're like, oh, who do you think you are? So you're at a place, a purgatory, basically, or a nebulous place, just out there. You're too low to be God, and people got you too high to be human. When you're absolutely human, just with God with you, that's what pulls you up. And I'm just saying, man. So what you're seeing now, Doc, with when I was talking to you before this, where how I see people come to church on Easter and then I don't see them, and even in statistics say that fewer and fewer people are coming actually to the brick and mortar, to churches. Then that's when thoughts like, okay, God, we have to go to where the people are. Don't just wait on the people to come to us. And that's what I love, because God has given me opportunity. Yeah, maybe not to sit up in that pulpit, but platforms to drop his word. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Because that's where the people are also. They're on this, they listen to podcasts. We got to bring it to the podcast. They're on the internet. We got to bring it in. They're doing all the posting, and you got to bring it to posting. All of that. You got. It's so funny. Somebody said to me, Michael, why are you bringing God over here? I said, the devil's over here. What do you mean?
That's
So that's
right.
why I'm bringing God over here on the internet. So it did work out. I told my mom I may be able to talk the talk, but not walk the walk of a pastor. But we're all disciples, and we're all
Absolutely.
pastoring in some way.
Michael, I love hearing that from you because, like you said, we all have a testimony or a story to steward, right? And just hearing a praying mama, these prayers coming to fruition through you today, and just continuing to recognize that God has his hand on your life, that God has given you platforms and pedestals. And you know what? Like you said, when you're given those things, to whom much is given, much is required. And here you are continuing to bring the good news of the gospel, being able to expose your faith in places that may be far reaching, but God is using you to reach the person that maybe wouldn't be able to hear it otherwise. And my friend, as you mentioned, I want to talk a little football up front because we're going to have a very in-depth conversation about your faith and your testimony and the challenges you've been through and more. But, I just wanted to touch on Miami here for a moment. Miami's run was pretty incredible this last year. You were all over the place. I just want to hear with the run of Carson Beck and Malachi Toney and my boy CJ Daniels. We'll talk about him here in a second. What made that team, Michael, so special?
And watching this team, and people, what people don't know is, we are so committed to Miami. I mean, all the former players, we
Oh,
go
yeah.
back all the time, right? And we go back, we do this thing they call Legends Camp,
Hmm.
where they bring back all the legends. And we do what they call Paradise Camp. Every year we do this. So all the 6th, 7th, 8th grade kids that hope one day to go to Miami, the Malachi Tonys and all that, when they're 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, we're working out with those kids.
Wow.
And we'll have a bunch of kids over here. And over here I'll have Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Warren Saps, Michael Irvin, Jonathan, all kinds of Gregos, all kinds of Pro Bowl Hall of Fame players
Wow.
standing about 20, 30 yards from the 6th, 7th, 8th graders. And I tell them, I say, our job here is to give you the tools to get from where you are over there
Hmm.
to where they are over there. You see
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we get so much time with them. We catch them then we come back and do a Legends Camp when they're older, working with them, and then they choose to come to Miami. So
Hmm.
we have connectivity. When I'm watching those guys on the field, I watched all these young guys grow up, and we
Yes.
talked about commitment. So yeah, I get excited about it. And it's nothing, nothing in this world more important to me. Because let me tell you why. Football's the game.
Yep.
But but it gives me an opportunity to teach some things. Like when we're in a tight game, I go in that huddle, I said, listen, right here, right now, determines how you live the rest of your life. When you win games like this, you win tight games, you win in tight situations, you have confidence about those things, and you take that in life. This is not just a football game.
Yep.
This determines how you go and win in life. And they realize that. They get that. That's the important part. That's the important part. Everything here builds to something over there, and that's why it's important to give your all. And football is the sport for it, because
Yes.
it's the only sport in the world that you cannot have what I call individual isolated success.
Come on.
You can't have basketball. LeBron can take the ball off one rim and dunk it on the other. Nobody, he doesn't need another teammate to do that. Baseball, you slap a home run. Golf, you drop that putt. You don't need any other teammates to do that. There's no such thing in football. And honestly, there's no such thing as individual isolated success in corporations, organizations, and most importantly, family.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? We all have to work together, and certainly, and that's how God built us, to
Yes.
work together. So that's why I think football is such a great teacher of life, since it doesn't have any individual isolated success, and everything that's important to us, you can't do it by yourself.
That's right. Like you mentioned, football's a great game. It's a terrible God. It's the idea that it can teach us a lot of lessons about life, about ourselves, how to overcome adversity, right? That's the idea of resilience. No concrete definition, but a common theme is learning how to positively adapt in the presence or in the face of adversity, because
Right.
it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And there's these teaching moments every time you break the huddle where you get to go out on the gridiron and you get to exemplify, like you said, on a field what you're going to hopefully propel you into life with a greater amount of confidence to do. You know, Michael, as you're talking, I was just thinking about C.J. Daniels, who had a story from Liberty University, which is where I get the opportunity of serving as the athletic counselor and the sports site guy there on campus. And then from Liberty to LSU, from LSU to Miami. Now he gets picked up by the LA Rams. I'm just thinking about all the young guys that just got picked up in the draft last week. And I'm just interested kind of from a perspective of obviously a Dallas Cowboys guy, Caleb Downs, Malachi Lawrence going in the first round to them. What's your grade that you give the Cowboys? But also, what's a word that you would give to all the draft picks from this year's NFL draft?
Man, first, what I would tell them all, and I'll go backwards with that first, and then I'll come to the Cowboys. But C.J. Daniels, my dude, that was my guy, man. I love C.J. Daniels, man. I told C.J., and honestly, dog, I told him, I said, man, if you had never gotten hurt, we would have gone undefeated last year. But he got hurt for a few games, and it affected us, and because what we established with CJ in that game, Notre Dame game,
Yep.
The
That catch
Bible
was
speaks of it.
ridiculous.
That's what I'm about to go to. Because Doc, that's what I'm about to go to, Doc. And the Bible don't joke about this. The Bible, as a man thinketh, so is he. You see, I believe this. I realize this. I live this. I only ran 3 or 4 routes in a game. But I believe you couldn't stop them 3 or 4 routes. It don't matter what you know. You still gotta stop it. You can be right there. I used to mess with Dion the ball. I said, no, Dion, you covering me. Deion Sanders, Darryl Green, Rod Woodson, all gold jackets. I went to all gold jackets to get my gold rings. I said, oh no, they all great. They covered me. I just made the play anyway. Hence the nickname, the playmaker. You see what I'm saying? No, because sometimes you just got to make the play. And I told CJ, that happened, that Notre Dame game. He made that grab. And from that point on, every time I saw him, I reaffirmed in his mind what he had done. I said, CJ, you are a big play dude, man. And I mean, all year, every chance he got, he would make that great grab. You know why? Because he expected to make it. He was looking for it. He knew, he had visualized it, and he came up with it. I was so happy, man. I'm so happy for him. I was so happy when the Rams picked him up, because I believe he's going to have a great pro career. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, I thought they did phenomenal in the draft. Phenomenal in the draft. And Doc, I've been around here hollering and saying, I believe this will be the year where I will realize, and I almost said, God, if you let me see this I won't ask for anything else. Then I stopped. I said, I better not say that because you know what? I'm going to be lying.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know how many times when you say that? God, you give me this, I promise. I won't ask for anything else. He gives it to you, and you be right back. God, I only need this one more time. I will never ask you for. You just asked. Stop lying to me. To you. But I said, man, I believe this year we can see Miami win a championship,
Mm.
in Dallas win a championship. Now, I was saying this when Adam Schefter was reporting that George Pickens has signed. Now they're saying that he hadn't signed the franchise tag, so we may still have to do some negotiating there. But the draft was
Yep.
great.
It was. It definitely was. I think Caleb Downs he's a legendary guy. He's going to be somebody that's just a culture guy for the locker room and obviously all the other draft picks. I'm excited to see. I'm not just a Steeler fan. I'm a football fan. So I look forward to seeing what shakes out this year. And who knows, maybe the Cowboys find themselves in the Super Bowl, Michael. I want to go back to your career, though, here for a moment because we're kind of setting the table for life and, again, for faith here for a moment. And when it comes to just some fun questions, just a favorite game from Michael Irvin's era or a favorite catch. Can you think back to a memory for us?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, my favorite, it's the Super Bowl. My first touchdown in the Super Bowl. We talked about it. I mean, my mom had always said to me that God got his hand on you, baby. You're not going to be able to get away with anything. And so I got in trouble with any little thing I did. If we were throwing rocks as kids, we don't know, the one that would break. I'm like, who did it? They're coming right to me.
Yeah.
Pearl, your son, you know what I mean? So it was always like everybody, since they knew my mom had decreed this upon me, wanted to prove that I was a troublemaker, So when I went about that first Super Bowl, I caught that first touchdown. I remember thinking, man, the whole world saw that. So everybody that thought my mom was lying, and they all saw this. That to me was everything. That
Yes.
to me was everything. I'll never forget that play. And then 18 seconds later, we had got another fumble, and 18 seconds later, I caught another touchdown. Two touchdowns, two offensive touchdowns, 18 seconds in a Super Bowl will never be broken. There's a record that'll never be broken. So that would definitely be. And it's because of that. That was the favorite play. But what led up to it is what made it so favorite for me. What made that whole game one of my favorite games. We didn't start, and when I got here, we were not that good.
Yeah.
We were 3-13 my first year. Then we got Troy Aikman, and we went 1-15 that second year. Then we get Emmett, and we went 7-9. But what we had done now is grabbed a nucleus of young guys.
Yes.
That right. And once we got together, Emmett, Troy, and me, we made a commitment that everybody that comes on this team has to go like we go, or they have to literally go. Get
Come
out
on.
of here. You see what I'm saying? Right. They gotta get out of here. And I really remember when I first got here, I got drafted under Tom Landry, and then I knew Jimmy was coming the next year.
Right.
I knew Jimmy was getting a job. And I'll back up. When I left Miami, I graduated my junior year. I still had another year eligibility. But to go to the league early, you had to graduate early back then when I went. And so I had to graduate, and teams now, any team that wanted to draft me had to call me first to get permission. Because if they did, they would lose the draft pick if I drop a class, go back to summer school, pick up a summer school class, graduate later, and I would apply for a supplemental draft. So Green Bay called with the 7th pick, and I said, no, I'm not going to Green Bay. So no. But before the draft, Jimmy pulled me aside because Jimmy knew Bernie Kosar had did it 2 years before me to get to Cleveland. Bernie graduated after his sophomore season and went to the NFL. So Jimmy told me right before the draft, look, he said, Michael, Dallas is going to draft you. He said, and he said, don't play none of them shenanigans with Dallas. Yeah. He said, you go to Dallas because I will be there within a year. I got an oil buddy that's about to buy the Cowboys. And I was like, what? And then, Then Dallas just drafted me. They didn't even call. They didn't even call me. They just draft. I was like, wait a minute. You're supposed to call first, but I didn't mind, man. My whole family were big Cowboy fans. I was so happy to be going to Dallas, man. And that first year when Jimmy came, you know, all the guys the years I was there before the year I was there before Jimmy came, a lot of guys, when we would lose, we went 3-13. A lot of guys we would lose. The guys were telling me, man, we're pros now. Just don't be crying. You can't cry. You got to go pick up a check on Tuesday. Like I told on all of them. When Jimmy got here, I was like Santa. I had a list. I checked it twice. I said, these must go. These must go. If you touched me and said this is about making money, you gotta go. Because you gotta keep your eyes on the prize. And Jimmy would always say to us, if everybody focused on one thing, everybody can get the one thing they want. But if everybody focused on their one thing, then nobody gets anything. And we all must focus. So you can come because you want to make a lot of money. You can come because you want to be famous. You may just want to meet the girls, whatever.
Yeah.
If we all focus on winning, you can get all of that. But if you focus on these things individually, nobody gets any of that. I thought that was a brilliant coaching strategy. We must focus on winning. That's how we get everything else. But that's the only way it works.
And winning as a collective whole. You know what I mean? It's
a
the we
collective
over
whole.
me type of thing, like you mentioned. That's what football really teaches, what sports can teach, but especially football, that lens of camaraderie. And you have to work together for a common good, for a common mission, for a common vision. And obviously the Dallas Cowboys did just that, winning 3 Super Bowls in a short 4-year span. But I want to talk about the triplets here for a second. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and you, Michael Irvin, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Doesn't get much better than that. I'm interested just the impact that maybe Troy and Emmitt had on your life, and is that still something that carries out to today?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why even bringing it up, it's phenomenal the relationship we still have to this day.
Wow.
We've had such great success on the football field together, but we came from not such a great place, and we build it together.
Yes.
And that journey is what made that game, that first Super Bowl, that first touchdown so great. Because just 4 years before that, people were like, no way. No, this isn't working, And then we made that commitment and we got it together. And we have never had an issue. Now, Troy's just, he's the greatest. He really is. He's the greatest dude in the world. And I love him. I appreciate him as my quarterback. And I love no man like I love that man. He's always been there for me. It really has. Even in my lowest moments.
Yes.
And when Doc, when I was in court for some of the mess I was doing, I would say, Troy was like, man, I can't take this. It bothers me to see you like this. I said, don't worry. Let me do my time. Let me do what I gotta do.
Yeah.
I made a bad decision. That's on me. Let me do what I gotta do. He said, no, I'm gonna come. I said, do not come. Don't come. I don't want to put you in this. Do not come. And he showed up anyway, Doc. We're as men, we'll say things like that because, I'm like, listen, man. And I meant it. Like, I don't want people to throw you into this, really don't come. But, he shows up and it tells you how much that really meant to you. It meant everything that he showed up after I told him not to come. And to me, that's just everything. But Troy's a stern, straight, just so mature, so straight kind of a guy, and it took a while, because every time we talked, I would say at the end of the day, man, love you guys. And first Troy, yeah, gotcha, bro. But now, years later, he'll say, I love you back. We all just say, I love you now. It was harder to get him when they were younger. See, I come from a big family. We say it all the time.
Yes.
But and it's not something football players say to each other, all the time. But me, Troy, Emmett, and Dion, you can put Dion in there too now. Yes. That's something we will not, and we say, because Dion says this, makes us say it, we don't say I love you to death. We'll say I love you to life. Wow. We won't even speak the death part.
Come
because,
on.
you manifest what comes out of your mouth. So I love you to life, man. And I think that's a beautiful thing to have grown men that
Yes.
accomplished be that transparent with each other.
Yes, Michael, I think it's important that we have friends for the fire. We have that band
That's a
of
great way to
brothers,
put it. You're
right?
right.
Men that we can do life with, that we can be honest with, that we can be vulnerable with, that we're not afraid to share those seasons of suffering, because shared suffering is the only way to do suffering. And Michael, I was just thinking about this idea of you being called the playmaker, probably at a very young age. And I'll just be real with you. I work with a lot of athletes who have platforms and have pedestals, and they have all the followers, but at the end of the day there's a lot of emptiness because they feel like they have to live up to the expectation of being the playmaker all the time, or somehow, some way, that name or that nickname becomes their identity, and maybe it boosts up their pride, or boosts their head a little bit, blows them up, and then all of a sudden we sometimes can fall into making decisions that maybe we're not very proud of. And you've been very open. I appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability, talking about just even some of the things when it comes to a decision, or it comes to addiction, or it comes to brokenness, or it comes to suffering. But I'm just interested, what's going through a young Michael Irvin who's at the peak of his career, going through all of the things that you had to navigate, injury included, the spinal cord, the neck injury that really forced you into retirement. Like, how did you hit a low point? Was there a moment in life where it was like, man, you have to give this all over because you can't keep going the way that you're going? Was there a moment like that for you?
And there are a few moments for me, Doc, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And because, my father was a pastor, and so I call myself blessed in this sense. And I think God has given me a great understanding and given me and put me in a lot of different uh, atmospheres and situations. I grew up. My dad was a pastor, and Reverend Irvin, and we were a primitive Baptist church. That means, you're in church from 9 to 4 in the afternoon. You break for lunch, and I mean, it's all day
Oh,
service,
yeah.
on Sunday. I went to primitive Baptist, then got kicked out of public schools early, then went to a private school, St. Thomas Aquinas, Catholic school. It's a Catholic school.
Yep.
So I learned from primitive Baptist, then I learned from a Catholic school, then got to work with Rich Eisen, and I did. Rich Eisen, a great friend of mine, so I did his baby naming ceremony, the best bar mitzvahs, and Doug, I'm telling you, I see certain elements in all of it that we should implement in all of us.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
And I get so caught up with the discipline and dogmas that men put on spirituality, and try to funnel it. Like the baby naming ceremony, I try to tell my people
Yeah.
about this. That was such an experience for me
Mm.
to be in a Jewish house and see what they do when they have birth of a baby.
Mm.
Everybody's coming, everybody's holding up the name, holding up the baby, speaking what the name means.
Mm.
And they're passing the baby to the next group and speak. That's phenomenal. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal. And they're all now videotaping it. Let me tell you why I say it's phenomenal. So you do a baby naming and you got all that on the videotape. And everybody's watching. Then at 14, 15, 16, they do a bar mitzvah, right? And you have all that on videotape to come back and watch. And then, like a young Michael Irvin, you get 19, 20, 21, and the Bible says, train them up in the
Yep.
way. And when they stray, they'll find their way back. Let me tell you, they have tools to help them find their way back. Because the baby naming ceremony has been all filmed to say, this is what your name means. This is what you should be doing. And then the bar mitzvah, this is what you should be doing. So they have tools to help them find themselves again, prodigal son. We do the same thing. We spend money and we call it a baby shower. And everybody they come in, they dance, but what good is that when the kid strays, he comes back to see his baby shower and just a bunch of old people dancing. What good is that gonna help him find his way back? What good is a sweet 16 when he gets lost and he's trying to find his way back and he comes and just see a bunch of people partying and dancing? I was like, I don't care that you do the party, but make it have something. If you want to do a baby shower, you make it have something to it. You talk the name of this baby so the baby can understand. It's not for you to come and get drunk and go crazy. It's something for the baby for later on. I think we have to implement stuff like this to be better, for us to be better. And well, no, that's what Jewish people do. That's what we all should be doing, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely, you know, and as you're mentioning, it's like that rite of passage, that idea of reminding yourself of who you are because of whose you are. Like you said, training us up in the way we should walk so that later on in life we would not depart from it. But those who strayed from it can find a way back into a relationship with God. And I agree with what you're saying, that religious dogma, right? There's a lot of people who just go through routines, but it's really understanding like what a relationship with Jesus is all about. And I know I'm a firm believer of this, Michael, that sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order to recognize that God is the rock at the bottom. It's sometimes, my dad told me this as a young kid growing up, Michael, that it's your moments of powerlessness, Zach, that will draw you closer to and reveal the character of God's heart the most. And I'm just thinking of Michael Irvin in the pinnacle of his career when all of those things were going on, and there's a lot of different things in and out of court, a lot of challenges up against you. But in 2001, I've heard you say that you found your way and you surrendered your life to Jesus. And I'm interested what that change or what that transformation, like you said, it's not perfection. Nobody's life is perfect. This is a long obedience in the same direction. It's a sanctifying process. But for you, Michael, what did that day in 2001 start within you that is still being sanctified today?
And I'm so thankful for the man that God sent me to.
Yes.
Because honestly, Doc, I was actually trying to run from this man.
Wow.
Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Yes.
Well, you know, when I got Dion here, when I got Dion to move over here to Dallas from San Francisco, he came in and he got close to Bishop Jakes. My wife, before Dion got here in 94, 95, my wife would have him on all day. I mean, you know, because I'm out in the streets, and she's trying to do her little piece to get me right, you know. So no matter what room I walked in, this big joker on TV, God, you know. So, and I'm like, okay, that she's just doing this, you know. She's messing with me. She's trying to bring me back. That's what that's what she was doing. You strayed. I'm trying to get you back right, you know. So I would see him everywhere. And then Dion came, you know, and Dion somehow met him, and then Dion would bring him over to the house and we're doing Bible study. We used to do Bible study. And one time at Dion's house, I got up and went to the bathroom. Bishop comes in the bathroom. I'm literally using the bathroom, and he's behind me. And he's like, God's telling me you're running from something. I said, hey, Joe, wait a minute, what's up, man? I'm using the bathroom here, you know? And you always say, well, I'm just telling you, God telling me you're running from something. And, you know, I sat and talked with him. We were cordial. But left, and from that day on, I was running from him. Wow. You see what I'm saying? If you say you're already talking to God about me, okay, that's it. I'm running from you. So, you know, I would dodge him. Even when I wanted to, you know, I started when I retired. 99 was the last time I played. 2000, I retired. I realized I had been all my career, right, playing ball. Off seasons come after we win a Super Bowl. That's February. That's the first weekend in February. So I'll have all the way till March 5th. And then I would party, go have fun, travel, chase women, do all kinds of stuff for that whole month and a half or that month. And then, Doc, I'm telling you, right after that March 5th little party thing I would have, start training. And I would stop doing everything because I was training. And I'm fine. And I would see people, and I put my mouth on people because they would get lost in drugs or stuff. And I said, man, how could you get lost? Why can't you? I don't know why you can't stop. I could stop. I do it. I stop. I just stop. You just got to make your mind up to stop. Now, once I retire, it crystallized. You see, I was saying I stopped, but I didn't necessarily stop. What I was doing was switching addictions. You see, football is an addiction for me. And it's a good addiction. It's a positive addiction. I can stay to it, put my so I can have football all year long. Then off season, football's gone. Now I'm getting high, having fun, doing what I want to do. Football come around again, bam, I could drop that. Now, go. When I retired in 99, 2000, and I would say to myself, all right, I'm going to go one more week. I'm going to have fun. That's it. Then I'm going to stop, get focused on what I'm doing next. That week went by. Found myself doing something again.
Yep.
Then I would say it again. Okay, one more week. Three. This the last weekend. It carried on for a minute. And then I had to come to realize, wait a minute. Whoa. I've said that's it a few times, and I'm still fine. And it was, I told my wife one time, I said, baby, I'm going to go up the street and I'll be back, right? And she said, okay, you promise? I said, I promise, baby. I'm coming back. I'm going to just go up here for it. I'll be out there an hour and a half. No more. Went out. Ran into some girl, stayed out all night, Doc. Yep. All night. I'll never forget it. It was Valentine's. And I was out all night, man. And I remember coming home and my wife said to me, she said, baby, you lied to me. And I said, baby, I lied to me. I lied to me. And that was when I realized I had been lying to me. This is a problem. And I had been switching addictions, and now I didn't have that switch.
Yeah.
So I couldn't turn it off. And so I had been lying to me, and I had to find out and get some help. And now I went to other pastors.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to go to Bishop Jakes. I went to other pastors to try to get some counseling, but I never felt like I was picking up my mail where I was when I tried those other places. I walked in the Potter's house, basically like, I don't know what else to do here. And Bishop, I'll never forget, he was preaching, it's time to come out the rain. Dude, he said it exactly. He said, everybody sees you. I felt, you felt like, this joker, no. That mail was delivered just like this one with my name on it. You see that? That says my name on it, Michael Irvin. That's what he delivered, my mail right there. He said, everybody see you driving the fancy cars and you got the nice clothes and you got a fat bank account and they think you got it all together. But you're falling apart. You're drenched and falling apart. He says, the day is your day. You come to this altar and you get out the rain. I'll never forget that. Wow. And I went to that altar. I laid down on that altar, and Bishop came to me in church. And he said, we've been waiting on you.
Wow.
Messed me up. And then he said to me, Doc, he said, this is my son. You will travel with me. I want to make sure that God is all the way in before I let you out of my eyesight. So I traveled with him as his armor bearer.
Wow.
For quite a while. Whenever he went to preach, we were doing a Time Life project. He was doing a Time Life project, a video of Time Life, and we were shooting in L.A. I'll never forget, we were going to L.A. to promote it. I'm his armor bearer. I'm carrying. We were walking in to the radio show to do a Steve Harvey interview. Steve Harvey's my guy.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Harvey was right here in Dallas with me. When I got here, he had his own comedy club, and I used to go and be with him over his comedy club. So when we walk in to Steve Harvey's radio show, I remember him saying, oh, my God. Folks, coming up next, Bishop T.D. Jakes. And I'm going to tell you right now, he has somebody with him. And I'll never forget he said this. He said, folks, Bishop T.D. Jakes has somebody with him, and if God can save him, God can save anybody. Bishop T.D. Jakes and Michael Irvin next. And boom.
Wow.
Look, I was mad as fire, because I'm thinking, oh, what are you trying to say? Because I'm young, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm new into this, man. I said, what are you trying to say? You trying to say I'm so bad, but I realized that's part of God's plan.
Yes.
Don't be mad about this, Mike. Wait a minute. So they put it out like that.
Yeah.
When I was running around. Now let's let them put it out like this, right? So he was right. If God can save him, God can save anybody. And for a while that messed with me until I got more mature in it. But Bishop, I love him. I love him for taking that time to making sure that the word is engrafted. That's what he would always say to me. I got to make sure the word is engrafted so we can do what God has ordered you to do. So, yeah, I love him. That's how that started.
It's amazing, Michael. I'm grateful. Our family is grateful for Bishop T.D. Jakes. My dad has preached and spoken several times in the Potter's house over the years, and so we have a deep relationship. I know my dad admires him and respects him so deeply, and the work that God has done and the work that he has done in and through your life and just continuing to guide you home. As I think about you and I think about your story and I think about what Steve Harvey even said, just this idea that, man, God can redeem what has been broken. And there's beauty in his grace. There's beauty in the extension of something that we do not deserve, because his love and his grace and his mercy and his forgiveness are something that we could never earn because he doesn't ask us to. And I'm just thinking about you here for a moment, Michael. Just thinking about somebody out there today who's listening or who's watching that feels like, you know what, I'm too far gone. Or, I've gone too far astray. Or maybe I'm that prodigal and I want to come home, but I'm not sure how my father's going to welcome me. What's a word of encouragement that you would give that person today about the grace and the warmth and the embrace of Christ that is waiting on them to just come back home?
Just come back home. And come back home with the right heart.
Yes.
Because there's pain that's been going on with whatever you've been dealing with. Both ways.
Yes.
Both ways. I'm so thankful for Bishop and all of that he's taught me through the process. Like when I retired, and I started coming home, the first thing Bishop said to me is, hey, work your way back home. That's what do you mean? The man in the ego.
That's right.
What are you talking about? I pay all them bills. I gotta work my way back home. That's my house. And he explains it to me this way. He says, son, you've been on the road working, doing what you have to do. The house has been running and they ran the house well without you. Yes. Don't come back trying to get right, trying to boss everybody around because you're not on the field bossing around defensive backs anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, that does make sense. And if you look at the divorce rate of retired players, it's high.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're trying to transition. Yes. They no longer have opponents to fight. So then you go home and fight there, and that becomes an opponent, and now you're gone. Wow. Just all that Bishop saying, around 45, 50, she's going to start changing. You're going to see some menopause issues. Don't take it personally. Don't be coming back and don't be taking it personally. This is part of the process. Yes. That kind of guidance, that kind of mentoring is the world, because somebody before you has gone and ran that race. So now they're helping you. Hence is why the word says, confess one to another, pray ye one for the other. Yes. Somebody else has gone ahead. If we're talking about the journey, we'll get some knowledge about where we're going, because we're supposed to share. And that I think is very crucial. Very crucial. Being able to open up and share with somebody and talk about what you're going through. I it was crucial for Bishop to make sure. These are some things I probably would have been afraid to ask, but he knew already what to prepare me for. So when things happen, when my wife did start going with the menopause, and he said, hey, don't take that personally. It got nothing to do with you. Don't even act like that. This is, Because if it's a defensive back, I'm taking it personally. I don't know, whoop your butt, and you take that mentality
Yes.
everywhere. So it's been that great that I appreciate. Now, you asked me something, I want to say this. Doc, everywhere I go, because people love sports,
Yeah.
there are always people coming around, but, I try to always remember what you said earlier, well, God, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't ever want my profession to be bigger than my person. You
Mm.
gotta, you gotta make sure you don't make what you do bigger than who you are. And I
Yes.
am God's child. So you don't know who God is sending to you. So I have to monitor me. I have to monitor that. I'm accepting. I want to be open to it. And if I am not, say I had a long day and maybe I wasn't as cordial as somebody just wanted an autograph or a picture, that vexes me.
Yeah.
It vexes me. Because I'm saying I don't know, I don't know who God sends, so I have to be right for everybody. And that I think is very important. Don't make what I do bigger than who I am.
Mm.
I'm God's servant. I did football. You see
Yes.
what I'm saying? But I
Yes.
am God's servant. I did football. And now we're going to use football. If I am that way, and not cordial to people, not right with people, how can he use me?
Yeah.
The only way God shows us he loves us, he uses others to do that. He
Mm.
sends people for you. So I have to be available. And I don't know when he's sending. So I have to make sure my spirit is right when people approach me. So I try to always keep that in my mind.
Michael, I have just a couple final questions for you, and I'm just thinking about your entire story that you've unpacked for us today. And like I said, I so appreciate your honesty, your vulnerability, because I think those are the things that break down the walls and the barriers to those that maybe are wandering away, that have strayed away from God, to know that there is hope, there is grace, there is redemption for them. And I'm just thinking about when it comes to this journey of spirituality and building a relationship with Christ, this is a process. Again, we talked about sanctification, becoming more like Christ every day, but it starts with simply spending time with him. And God will place people in our lives like the TD Jakeses, or those that will impact us, that will draw us back on track. He will use people as conduits through which he channels his message of love and forgiveness in our lives. But I'm interested, what are some of the disciplines that you are engaging in on a daily, weekly basis that keep you anchored in your faith? Because there might be somebody out there that's like, you know what, I'm just starting this journey, but man, it's a process every day. We're all a work in
Right,
progress. So what do
right,
you do, Michael?
right. And we are all a work in process. But what you have to do, and what I try to do, is be mindful and guard my gates.
Hmm.
Your gates, our gates. We got 5 gates to bring information into our soul.
Hmm.
Your eye gate, your ear gate, your nose gate, your mouth gate, and your touch gate. That brings information into our soul. I want to guard those gates. I want to make sure that they are right, and they're bringing the right things in and not letting the wrong things come in.
Hmm.
I want to make sure every day that I am available, trying to be available. So how do I guard my gates? Every morning I wake up, Doc. I want to When I'm putting toothbrush to tooth, I'm in the mirror.
Hmm.
So I don't wake up and grab this and start strolling, because that way I'm letting the world in right away.
That's right.
The Bible talks about first fruits. The Bible talks about first fruits. I get up in the morning, I want to be praying and preparing me
Hmm.
before I touch the world.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm getting up, I'm praying, thank you, Father, for another day. And then by that time I'm in that mirror. Now let's go win this day that you
Yes.
have been given. I'm pumping me up. I'm getting me ready. Now I can receive the world and
Hmm.
whatever they have, because I have prepared me. I believe in this wholeheartedly. I
Hmm.
believe in this wholeheartedly. And I even speak to it sometimes when I do corporations and corporation speakings or organizations. I come up with things like how to see your way to a championship, Doc, right?
Yes.
And I'll give you 6 C's. 6 C's. Not your eye gate, Don't use your divine, but I'm going to give you 6 C's. The first will be called. Know that you are called. Whatever you're doing, you know you're called. I don't care if you're in the mail room and you're called to the CEO position in your spirit. Once you know you are called, you will handle that mail room job a little differently. And if you know you are called, it changes your daily routine. You see, if you're called to be the CEO, but even if you start in the mailroom, you're waking up every day, not duty bound, but destiny bound.
Come on.
Because you notice your calling. You know, most of the world wakes up every day duty bound and they hate it. Man, I gotta go do this, I gotta do this. But when you're called to something, you wake up destiny. Boy, I got another day to go fulfill my destiny. It's a whole change of perspective. And then the second C would be show courage. Once you share people that you have a great calling in you, they didn't see that call. So like me, they'll say, well, you better have a backup plan. So you got to show courage to stick to the calling that God has showed you in you. Show courage. The third one is you got to wake up every day and challenge yourself. You challenge yourself. You challenge yourself every day. Everybody around you seeing that, and what do? Then they'll start challenging themselves. Yes. And what do we have? We have that 4th C, which is a natural competition. You want competition. We want everybody to bring the best out of themselves, so they got to compete, and that's what we're doing. We're going to compete. Dion and I worked out against each other in practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We competed. But on Sunday, now we're collaborating.
Come on.
You know, I'm seeing Dion on the field. I'm like, hey, man, Jerry Rice just put that feet up. When he put the foot up, he's running the slant. Dion, did you see that? I'm working with him, you know. So you go from competing, collaboration, and the most important, I think, out of these first 6 C's would be celebrations.
Come on.
The NFL set this up perfectly. They say anytime you sit on the goal line and your goal is another goal, the other goal line, 100 yards and 4 downs is way too far. That goal, very few people will reach. But if we just say, don't worry about the 100 yards, just go 10 yards, and we'll give you a small celebration called first down. You know what I mean? And all you got to do is focus on the first downs.
Yes.
First down. First down. Don't worry about the 100 yards. Just the 10. You get 10 of those, you'll have the 100. And that's the key. You got to make sure you have celebrations. Every Sunday, the team got together to celebrate. We talked about what we did, but we're also talking about what we're about to do the next week. That's why the celebration is so important. It acknowledges what's accomplished, but it also re-solidifies what must be done moving forward. I give kids under 18 an extra point C. That was 6 C's. The extra point C is to make sure as you move up in your profession that you have equal growth in your person, or you will have a big problem like I did early on in my career. Shooting up in my profession without equal growth in my person put me in some bad situations. You see what I mean? Now, Doc, those first 3 C's, call, courage, and challenge yourself, you notice something about those? Those are you dealing with you.
That's right.
You have to deal with you first before you hit those second 3 C's, compete, collaborate, and congratulate, because that's you dealing with others.
Come on.
Wake up and deal with you before you go tap in to others. You get right with God before you go try to help others get right with God, is what I'm saying.
That's a word right there, Michael Irvin. Come on, those are some 6 golden nuggets plus 1, my friend. That's what I hope and pray that every listener would begin to implement those things and those simple strategies into their life every single day, because we need those things to continue to push us to become the man or the woman that God has called us to become. I want to close this way with you, my friend. The playmaker, right? Somebody that has understood what the bright lights mean, somebody who has hoisted trophies, somebody who has congratulated and celebrated quite a bit. But I'm reminded of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 11 to 12. And this is what they say. They say, make it your aim or ambition to live or to lead a quiet life, minding your own business, working with your hands just as you've been instructed. Why? So that way you might win the respect of outsiders and not grow dependent upon anyone. I'm just thinking about someone who's experienced fame, someone who's experienced fortune, somebody who, right, females and all of the things that a lot of athletes to this day would say, like, that's what it's about though, right? But I'm just thinking, like, how does Michael Irvin want to be remembered? What legacy do you not just want to leave behind, but what legacy does Michael Irvin want to put into motion?
Well, and a great question of legacy is, it's a great question because when I look back and see my journey, I think about how I want people to see me and what you ultimately want. It's about what God wants.
Yes.
Like, this gives me peace right here. Like, dude, I lived with such regret on some of the bad decisions that I have made, but have an opportunity to flush it out,
Yes.
talk about it. Now it gives it some credence. Okay, I know why now. Because God did this, so I can do this. Before, I was living in a place where, man, why did I make that decision? If I never would have done this would have happened. This would have happened. Why couldn't I have a perfect run with no problems like Troy had or Emmett had and everything? And then I had to come to the place, that's not what God had for me. That's not what he had for me. He allowed certain things and he's put me out of certain things. Now, here's the kicker. Doc. The world will tell you if you have fallen into some of these situations that you are no longer useful. They say you're not a good role model. So now what you will say, you say, man, I made those bad decisions and now I can't do anything with them because I'm not a good role model. So nobody will listen to me. The reality is, that's the world speaking. That's the world speaking. But the reality is, if you are really in a tough situation, you want to hear from somebody that came through that situation. And God that's what Bishop says to me. God saved you, not for you. He would have saved you, and he knows how crazy you are. He'd have saved you and killed you right then because he knows that's the best you're ever going to be. But he saved you so you can go back in them holes and get his kids, the rest of his people. Wow. So when they see you, they'll say, oh, if he came out of it, if God brought him out of it, he can bring me out of it. Yes. And you have to stand there and take that pride. So now, what I used to run from, telling people, or you used to want people not to bring it up in interviews and everything, God was saying that's wrong. And you know what? It's real. It's wrong because of this too. If you don't bring it up, they're going to always bring it up.
Yes.
They going to bring it up to shoot you all the time, to shoot you down.
Yes.
Oh, look, why you ain't mention this? Why you ain't bring this up? Why? But if you bring it up, and it's the base from which you've been propelled, now you rob them and you help the ones you're supposed to help. And that's why God saved you. God did save me for me. God saved me for his use to go get the rest of his kids. And I have to be transparent and make myself available to be that servant.
Our goal is not to be famous. Our goal is not to build a fortune. It's just simply to be found faithful. What you just said, Michael, reminds me of Genesis 32, where Jacob is literally wrestling with the Lord. And all of a sudden, in the midst of that, it says the Lord asks a question, what is your name? Right? And he says Jacob, which means liar, deceiver. You think about, he believed that shame was his name, but God said no more. He renames him. And that's what he does for all of us. And that's what he's done for you, my friend. And I would say this, from all of us at Ignite and AACC, on behalf of my dad and myself, Michael, I'm grateful for you. I can sense that God is doing something special in and through your life. And I would encourage you and challenge you, brother to brother, continue to own your influence, because God is going to continue to use you in ways that you could have never thought, asked, or possibly imagined, my friend. So thank you for your testimony. Thank you for speaking openly and boldly. And thank you for bringing the gospel to places that not other people could. So, my friend, you are a gift. Grateful that you took some time today to join us on the podcast. Thank you for what God is doing in and through you.
And Doc, thanks for opening the doors, Doc. I mean, this means everything to me. I get to speak a lot of times in a lot of places, but this is what it's all about. And it's important guys like you to keep reaching back and getting guys that have gone through situations to talk. Because think about it, I'm telling you, they would tell you, you made a mistake. That's it. You can't be a role model. And that's just simply not true.
True.
You just brought up Jacob. Think about all that they call Jacob. Trickster, no good, everything. What? Jacob delivered. You see what I mean? And God, or I should say, God delivered a lot through Jacob. So yeah. So anybody out there, I don't care what you're going through, what you've been through, what you've done, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. God will use it for his good. And ultimately, that will be for your good. So don't be afraid.
Yes.
Just lay it at his feet
Amen.
and get moving.
Amen, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me, Michael.
Doc, anytime, man. I can't wait to see you in person, buddy.
I want to close this way to all of our audience here at Build Different. No matter what mistake you've made, no matter what past you've come through, it does not disqualify you from leadership. And I'm reminded of Hosea chapter 2. It says that even in the valley of Achor is symbolic of a valley of suffering. It says that when we return to the Lord, that a door of hope will be opened wide unto you. Shame is no longer your name. God can use you. He can use your story because he is not done with you yet. I hope you are as encouraged by Michael Irvin today as I was. He's not just a playmaker. I believe that he is a world changer. Cannot wait to see what God does in and through your life. Thank you for joining us. We love being a part of your life.